Good afternoon and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic live Q&A for the month of September. You're very welcome to the live show. I make no excuses whatsoever that this is the most exciting time of my of the clinic's engagement with families, and that's because it's real time. Well, at least apart from the 3 seconds latency, it is as real time as it gets. And I love the fact that you can, in your busy schedule, just pop in for an hour and spend time addressing some concerns you have around the areas of internet safety. We don't hide our our joy and excitement at trying our best to address all your concerns. We don't hide the joy that gives us as a clinic. And so we would want you to, as best as you can, engage with me and make sure that you are, as open, if you like, vulnerable. Because there's some questions that I find we feel if we ask, it exposes our naivety or our hesitance to really get involved in or with technology. And so my heart is that you, whilst here, get the most from my engagement. And that's why you must engage. By engaging, I mean you must ask questions. It's okay to listen, but if you have a burning question, or if there's something I've said that you need clarity on, then use the comments section, to seek clarity. That's why we do the live shows. The live shows give you an opportunity to ask whatever question is on your mind and expect to get an answer. That's what we're committed to do in the clinic. And so it's a joy. I'm glad that we have another show, another opportunity to really engage. And so if you are on, let me just see, at the moment I can only see a few people. Just send a hello or hiya via the comment section so I know that you are with me. It can be lonely, the live shows. I'm hoping that in the very near future, I would invite a guest. And by guest, I mean we'll just invite a family member, a parent, a mother, or a father. And at times, when it's appropriate, a young guy or young girl, to basically give the viewers and the members of the clinic an opportunity to see what impact this channel has had and what impact the lessons and the engagement has had on how you as a parent pilot your young ones on the internet. And we may even use those periods to, show examples of how family members have been, or attempts have been made to scam you, and because of what you've learned from the clinic, you've been able to, nip it in the bud. And that for me would be a joy to do. When I say near future, I'm looking at the next live Q&A. We'll invite a guest. So rather than just have the textual comments, we'll have a live guest. And then we'll just see what that brings. It'll still be 1 hour. The idea is that we engage for an hour and then just go from there. And so I hope that that will excite you. It's just a different dimension. The whole idea is to make it as tactile as possible. I find that if you can bring people on who will give live testimonies of the dangers of the internet, or a young guy coming and saying how confused he is by the whole internet noise thing, those things I feel will touch home or at least get to the core of our concerns and address them. Okay, so I am looking forward to engaging. I can't see the numbers. No one has sent a comment in yet, and you have to. Okay, and we also say on the channel that you must, as best as possible, send in your comments, so that we know that you are there. Okay, and then we can address any concerns you may have. As you can see scrolling across the screen, any questions you have on the broadcast today, please use the comment section to send in those questions. I hope that you would do so. As we do each week, I do have questions that I have received, albeit I would prefer that the visitors do that, and that will give me a different angle. But I have questions prepped from the emails that I have received, and we may just address those concerns or questions after a few minutes whilst I wait for those who are on the live show to engage accordingly. Okay, wait a bit as we do. I said that at some point I'll have to learn a song, that I'll use apart from what you're hearing, the jazz bit that you're hearing, a song that's related to Family Cyber Clinic. And I know that I can't do that. So perhaps, I'm not going to put dates, but there will be a song of sorts that will give you guys a giggle. Okay? All right, so we'll wait. And whilst we wait, just listen to this little interlude. Hey. Come on, guys. You guys can speak. Are you guys that busy? Yes, Lawrence. Well, it is Saturday. That's the only day that I can, I can do this. I could do it on any other day. In fact, I run live shows every week, really, when I think about it. It's just that I get to publish it a few minutes after. But today, it's live. Everything, no editing, just straight to you. So use it, okay? Good stuff. Hey. How soothing. Soothing music. Good for the soul. Okay? I hope you're keeping safe. That's the thing that's in our face right now. You're keeping safe in the physical and keeping safe on the internet. That's our joy on this platform. I'll give it another 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and I'll kick off with the questions we have. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Yeah, 4 questions. And interestingly, they're all the questions are around gaming. So if you have a son or a daughter who is into gaming, at the moment, possibly you're doing game consoles, the portable ones. But gaming in general, I have a few questions around that, and I hope that it will address some areas of concern that you may have about your young one, engaging. Uncle Shola. Oh, that's such a joy. Shola, it's been a while. I'm just putting Shola's greeting. He has come online and he said a good hello. Welcome. Welcome to the platform. And in fact, I didn't know that you were watching. And that's why comments are so important. Comments are so important because I get to know who is online. Shola, you're very welcome. I'm really chuffed that this is of benefit to you and your family. And that's why we do it. No other reason. This is why we do it. And I hope that you would Yes, thanks for your support. Thanks for your support, Shola. Really appreciate it. Okay, it is 10 past. So, lower the music and we are going to go straight in. Okay, again, welcome for those who are just arriving and those who are have already been on. Welcome again to today's live show. I look forward to, I've always said it, I look forward to these engagements. It's not quite the same as having a webinar or a seminar, where I can see you, but I know you're there. And even those who will consume this content days after today's show or weeks even, I hope that you are benefiting, from this. Okay. All right. So, again, while we wait for questions on the live show, I'm going, as I mentioned to those who are already here, I'm going to address the 5 questions all around gaming that should help not just the people who sent in the questions, but you who are, dropping by. Okay? So the first question is, should I buy a second-hand gaming console? Should I buy, or should we buy as parents, second-hand game consoles? I just had a thought drop in my mind. Yes, is the answer. But of course, make sure you clean it down with disinfectants and all that. If you get it from eBay or wherever you get it from, make sure you clean it down in the times that we're in. That is not the technical answer the clinic is giving. This is just the safety or the precaution. Make sure, we recommend that you can buy gaming consoles, but you must make sure that you clean it down. And then after cleaning it down, there is some other stuff that you need to do. And primarily why we feel that you must go this next step that I'm about to tell you is because of the inherent risks associated with not doing it. What am I saying? When you buy a gaming console, ideally the seller is supposed to wipe the game console. By wiping, I mean reset it to factory settings. Now, that's beneficial because any settings that the previous owner had, or any data that the previous owner had, gets wiped when you do that. And at some point, actually not some point, I'll put a link or so to how you can do it, how you can factory reset many of the gaming consoles. And I'm thinking Xbox One, I'm sure there's some other thing added to that, the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and there are other gaming consoles that I know exist. When you buy it secondhand, make sure you check that it has been reset. If it hasn't been, you, the parent, must factory reset it. Okay? That way you are sure that any content, possibly inappropriate content on that gaming console, doesn't get seen by your young young child, and that's important. So yes, we do give the thumbs up that you can buy a gaming console, secondhand gaming console, but you must reset it to factory, and that will wipe accounts, it will wipe photos that you've uploaded, or videos, or games, inappropriate games that you've stored, if they still do that on the console itself, gets wiped. And that means you have a clean system. Apart from the fact that it takes away all the bugs when you factory reset, it's mostly the content, possibly inappropriate content that might still be on the gaming console, that we are most concerned about. That filth, possible filth, we don't want our young ones exposed to it. So yes, you can buy a gaming console, but make sure you do 2 things: wipe it down, disinfect it before you give it to your young child. And then second, and equally important is that you reset the gaming console to factory settings, and that's just like an overhaul, and that should be useful for those who are considering introducing their young ones to gaming consoles. Of course, I'd rather they be more creative by doing other things, but if they're into gaming, then you have to get involved. Okay, I hope that has answered that question. And so if you've just arrived, I was answering the question about whether it is good practice to inherit or buy a second-hand gaming console. And the answer is yes, but do two things. Disinfect it once you receive it so that it is bug-free. And then second, and as equally important, is that you make sure you reset the console or consoles to factory settings and overhaul. Okay, good stuff. Okay, we have a second question, and again, I mentioned at the beginning for those who are just arriving that we obviously will address questions coming in from the live show, but I've had questions being submitted, and interestingly, they're all around gaming. I've addressed the first one, now I go to the second. Okay, all right. The second question is how can we as parents introduce a game console to our young ones in a safe way? Well, we've already touched on the first bit where we say disinfect it and reset to factory settings. That cleans the console outside and inside. But your question is, how can we introduce it now to the young one in a safe way? And I find typically, and we've addressed this in other videos, for example, if you are allowing your young one watch, let's say your young one is 12, and there's a movie that is 12A, and the young one says they want to watch the movie, and you not wanting to be overtly rigid, and that's our recommendation, you should go and see the movie first. Consume the content. You know your child more than anybody else. Consume that content, and then make sure that through it, you make sure that this is okay for your son or your daughter. If we bring that to the gaming console, and I'm giving advice that I'm not doing myself. I absolutely do not like gaming, but the fact that I don't like it doesn't mean that I don't know what's right and what's wrong. And so the secondary answer I'll give around introducing gaming to our young ones in a safe way would be that you get involved. Yes, get involved. My involvement will be mostly making sure that things are okay, the cleaning, the resetting to factory settings, and just making sure that updates on the console are done in a timely manner. But other parents who are so inclined should get involved by actually playing. There's some games that I don't mind playing, and I don't even want to say them because some will have a giggle. But I don't mind playing Monopoly on a gaming console. I don't mind playing any of those board games on a console. I could do that. But the bits that I don't really get involved in are the car racing, the football, the basketball, the golf. I love watching it, but I don't like playing them. And so I will not be able to add any value to my son's enjoyment or understanding of the game, or your son or daughter. So I won't do it because I don't have a flair for it, but I recommend that we get involved. I can get involved at one level. I'm also suggesting that you can get involved. Sit down with your son or daughter. And besides, it's a great way to come together as a family. You can have a giggle, you play games, you explore, you do things that allow you and your son or daughter to spend time together. And for parenting reasons, that is a virtue. And so we would recommend that you spend time with your son or daughter whilst learning the gaming thing, in a safe way. Because your question was, how can you introduce a gaming console to your young one in a safe way? You have to get involved. By getting involved, you get to see, you get to know, and in fact, you may see things in a game that you didn't know was inappropriate, that you can also tackle and explain, because it's a gotcha. You can't really do anything. You've seen it already, and then you can explain, but you are there guiding your young one. It's a great way to model responsibility to our young ones. They grow up whilst using technology, and they see how it should be done because you're with them. Okay, I hope that's addressed that question. Okay, I don't know whether I'm too fast, but if I am, you can slow me down and I can repeat. But I'm looking at the comments. I can't still see any question coming in from there. So we've addressed two questions. The first was, is it okay to inherit or to buy a second-hand console? And we've given an answer that it is okay. Do two things: disinfect it once you receive it, and then reset the console to factory settings. The second question, which if you just dropped in, we were addressing, is that or the question itself was, how do you introduce your young one to gaming or a gaming console in a safe way? And I said, apart from the two that I've just mentioned, the disinfection and the factory reset, it's also quite important that we get involved so you can play the game with your young one and make sure that you are showing him or her the ropes. And then, of course, discuss anything that you see that is confusing. It's a beautiful time to spend, or a beautiful way to spend time with your young one. Okay? And the bit that excites me the most is that you model responsibility when you are directing your son or daughter around the gaming arena. Okay? Good stuff. All right, so again, no comment. So I'm gonna go to the third question, and this is interesting because it's a passion of mine around the area of transparency. The question is, where should the gaming console be placed? Of course, it's a bit tricky or trickier if you have a personal console, the handheld consoles. You can still manage that to an extent. If your young one is quite young, then you could set boundaries. You can set rules of engagement, that if you're going to use the gaming console, this is where the gaming console is. You must play it in this place or this space. And I think that for transparency reasons is doable. And I agree with it totally. But again, it's age dependent. I suppose it'd be difficult to get anyone over 14 to sit down in a particular place and game. But you'll find that they don't mind as long as they can game. So if they're on the console, then keep it in a central place where you can have an overview. You can see what they're doing. And that is a very healthy way. Some may think it's overkill. I absolutely disagree. A child is a child, or children are children, so they need to be directed by parents. And we don't have things that are off the shelf, or off the table, I should say. Gaming, playtime, screen time should all be managed by the parents. You must be involved. And so that will tackle the area around placing the gaming console, the portable ones, the handheld ones. So the second question I would assume you would want to know from your question is, where should you place the likes of a PS4 or an Xbox One. And that, again, we are passionate about transparency on the platform. We would say that you place it in a central position. You know, it must be in your view. You must be able to see it. So the living room, the lounge are prime areas where those should go. But it's your decision. You know your child more than anybody else. But we are recommending, for transparency reasons, it makes more sense to put it in the lounge, the living room, but somewhere central. Okay? But discuss with your child first, because some of the time, at least from my experience, our young ones would normally want to be in charge of that decision where the console goes. If they had their way, they'll have it in their room. Unfortunately, we've seen lots of things go wrong with that arrangement. Our kids can become antisocial because they are always in their room. They become very inward. They're not expressive, and those are dangerous things that we don't want our children to be involved in. Of course, when they're older, that's a decision they will have to make. But whilst you have their attention, whilst they're under your roof, you must make sure that you're not putting these devices, and that you could spread that all to computers, laptops, all those. We generally recommend in the clinic that they are placed in a central position so that you have an overview. Okay? So the gaming console in the bedroom, we say, is a no-no. But you have to have ground rules. If it's in the living room, that's a tick already, but you can't be on it all the time, because that means whilst it's connected to the living room TV, nobody else can do anything. So there has to be a discussion held with your young ones so that they know what is allowed and what is not. Okay? Ade, welcome to the show. Yes, that's another comment. Thank you, he says, very much. I can see. Ooh. Okay, I don't know how that came in, but again, it's YouTube. But yes, and I will not show that comment because it doesn't look right. Okay, someone has YouTube bombed my comment section, but it's what it is. It's important, really important, that the gaming consoles and the portable and handheld ones must be placed in a central position where you have visibility and where you can engage with them. Okay? And I hope it is helpful. Those who are seeing the comments, again, I'm not putting it on the YouTube thing, so that's as healthy as it gets. But if you're seeing any comments come in that doesn't look right, I have no control over it. I will research it and find out how to block those. Evidently, I've not, but you won't see it. I was going to say welcome. I can't welcome that. Okay? But those are the sort of things, you know, somehow you have to have control. And one of the beautiful things about the comments is that I'm the moderator, so I can show you what needs to be seen, things that I can identify with, and you just have to be on top of these things. Okay, so we've answered 3 questions so far, and at this rate, if I'm not getting any questions from the comment section, I'm going to run out of questions. So I'm going to milk it a bit and wait just a tad to make sure I'm giving opportunities for those who are online, you know, to ask their own questions. If you're online and you like what is going on, please like this broadcast, but send in your comments. I've said it before that if there's no engagement whilst we go live, then YouTube won't bother passing this video to people who are out there on the internet, because there doesn't seem to be enough engagement. So if there's no engagement, YouTube will not recommend it to others. And we don't want just, you know, the people on the platform to engage, or rather to enjoy or benefit from this material. We want people outside the channel to read this content, so that they would also benefit their own families when they watch the videos. And that's important, really important. Okay, all right. So it's entirely your decision where the console goes, but our recommendation is that it's somewhere central, somewhere where you and every other person in the house can see what people are doing. Ground rules have to be agreed, and make sure that you are setting those boundaries, how much time can be spent. We've discussed the dangers of screen time, or particularly spending too much time looking at a screen. You've got to mix it up. All those ground rules are important, okay? So I hope that has answered the question about where should the gaming console go. All right? Good stuff. Is that a question? No, not a question. So we would continue waiting. Okay, just to prep the you whilst you're waiting. It's important that we try these things out. I find that if you listen, it's okay, but dare to engage your young one. We are trying on the platform, on the channel, to equip you, to build your confidence so that you are at a place where you can go on this journey with your young one. Some of your young ones are under 7, some are 8, 9, and already they are so internet savvy, and that puts you off engaging, because as a parent you don't know enough and you think you cannot. Or maybe you are trying, and each time you try, your young one is showing you up because of your knowledge, and you're embarrassed because you're having a young one teach you. There is nothing wrong with your young one teaching you internet matters. Absolutely nothing. In fact, it is beautiful to be taught by a young one because they're so simplistic in their teaching. They will really break it down. And then the onus is on you, because you're the parent, to learn from them. Go and do your research by watching the videos we post. And then you are now armed to carry on with that young one's journey on the internet. You can't lean on that, what they're teaching. You've got to up your game. But our young ones are beautiful teachers because they're going to break it down in the most simple terms. And for me, I find I learn from everybody. Some of the questions that we've asked on the platform in the past, I've done my research. And that's why I give us enough time to send in those questions, because I have to do my research. And I do my research in 2 ways, or at least the approach. If we're talking about a mobile application or an application on the computer, I will install it. Install it and use it for at least a week, or at least see how it rolls for a week. And that's if we're talking applications. I would stop. But other times, I just read or watch other people's videos on the subject or subjects that I know will interest the members of this beautiful family. And then with that knowledge, armed with that knowledge, I come each month to engage you during the live show. And of course, as I keep reminding us, if there are questions that I can't answer, I won't rubbish them. I'll park them, but come back to them, usually by creating another video addressing that same concern. And so I'm here doing just that each week. And it's beautiful. It's so humbling to be able to do this. And I want you to know that there's no mediocrity. I'm not patching. I'm not looking for ways to impress. This is a passion of mine. It's my own way of paying back. I keep saying that IT has been beautiful to me. IT has been so good to me. And we must get into a place where we are giving back. And this is me giving back to the community, especially my niche is the family. I am passionate about the family. The young ones that God has given us need to be kept safe. So having a beautiful balance, spiritual and the physical, is important to me. And that's why I'm bridging the gap. I'm making sure that we're thoroughly armed, to help and to guide our young ones. Okay, good stuff. I'm still waiting for questions, guys. Come on. We only have 25 minutes more, and I've told you, don't make me sing. Okay. All right, I'm still waiting. Yeah, so if this content is beneficial to you, please like it. And as you will find, even as we keep saying, I want you to make sure that you are, benefiting. And the only way you benefit from material like this is if you subscribe to the channel. I upload a video every week unfailingly. And it always touches on things that I have gone through during the week that I feel will be a blessing to you. And so you must, must engage. Watch the videos, like the videos, share the videos with your family and friends, and subscribe to the channel. Like the content. Those are the things that make YouTube pass this on. And so it's like a baton or baton, okay? If you like the content, YouTube see it and pass it on to families who are so inclined in technical things, cybersecurity and all that, and they present it to them, and the content gets to be seen by others. Needless to say, it is beneficial. So I want you to make sure you're engaging with me. All right, good stuff. Okay, should I go to the next one? I am going to go to the next one. We can't just keep this going. Okay. All right, so the last question around gaming is, at what age, and I'm sure many of you who are either on the platform are happy about this question, and those who will be watching this material later on, at what age should we let our children have a gaming console or a games console? Who am I to recommend an actual age? There's no official or recommended age for a child to own or to use a gaming console. None whatsoever. To own a gaming console. But of course, there are restrictions on what your young one can do whilst on the console. Okay? What games? We've shared PEGI, and that's an institute that are in charge of certification around the gaming content. And of course, they have recommendations of what ages can consume what type of game and all that stuff. So no official or recommended age for a child to own or use a console, but there's certainly restrictions around content. All right, so things like films, video games, they're obviously given age ratings, and usually it's PEGI, and that's okay, that's important. All right, this will allow us as parents to make informed decisions when considering which games our young ones can engage in, or what games are suitable for our children based on the labels published by this certification institute, if you like. The minimum age provided, not recommended by the clinic, but the minimum age provided by these certification authorities is 3 years old. You are the parent. I've always said that the internet will not parent my young ones, or the internet is not going to be responsible for teaching my young ones life. That's our responsibility. So treat this as a guide, but it's a very important and informed guide, that the age, minimum age for consuming the gaming content based on the recommendations by the certification authorities, is 3 years old. There are other age labels that you see. You generally see it on the back of the game packaging. So we've addressed the minimum age being 3. You see other labels like 7, 12, 16, and 18. So if you go to the PEGI website, and we've shared a video, I suppose click on this content because you see a video about PGI certifications and all that stuff. So for those who will be watching the video later on, please click on the info card and consume that content so that you can see what PGI have to say. All right, so the age labels 3, 7, 12, 16, and 18. Online gaming, as we know, has become quite popular. We've already shared a video on it. Go to the platform and browse the video library. You will see a video about gaming. You know, online gaming is so popular. And because our kids can now play games online, that more or less means that it's expanded. You know, it's expanded. And the sort of data that we're working with, let me share this data now. In terms of use, you know, uptake, we've had a 53% increase since 2018. It was 45% 5 years ago, but since 2018 it's risen to 53%. And I am certainly, absolutely certain that that's increased in the few months past, especially the last 7 months, with having absolutely nothing to do with ourselves. Well, I do, but I'm talking about the gaming community. They are actively doing these things. Now they've gone back to school, I suppose it's not as busy as it was, so that should be coming down. But generally, the uptake or the gaming online has really increased. And so it's important that we have this advice that I'm giving, you know, making sure that any information that our young ones are consuming are age appropriate. Age appropriate. We can't ignore the recommendations or the guidelines from the certification bodies or authorities. They are doing it based on research and they're using numbers. They've seen the damaging impact overdoing these things can have. And so they're, with the other information about suitability, they mix it all up and they sort of believe that an age bracket of this size should be okay with this kind of content. Like we said at the beginning when we were answering some of the other questions, you still have a duty of care as a parent to go and watch these things, engage in, you know, the gaming thing, and see for yourself. You know your young ones more than the government do, more than these certification authorities do. They're just, yeah, we value what they bring, but ultimately you are the parent. And we are very, very particular and passionate about you getting involved as a parent. And so we want you to do that. Okay? So with, like, I suppose with any piece of technology, you know, that you are exposing your young one to, you ought to be wise. You ought to be discerning. You have to use your judgment. You know, if you're happy, then you give the console to your young one. If you're not happy, if you don't think they're prepared, and many a times they're not, you know, I've found parents who have young ones as as young as 2, who are, you know, amused by the gaming console. They just love the colors, you know, blue, red, and all that, and you just put it in their laps. I'm talking about the portable and handheld ones. And of course, as they grow older, they become more intrigued and they want to know. That's just too early. I'd rather you put a pencil and a piece of paper and allow that sort of creativity to come in first before they start leisuring, if there's a word like that. It's important that they're learning other skills before they start engaging on screens. I just don't know where technology is taking us, but it's important that the values that we get from the traditional way, I can't overemphasize it. It's still very important and valuable, even in 2020. Creative thinking, don't just be a consumer, be a producer. I've heard many say it's important that we are allowing them to be creative. And one example, and I don't think I've tried this, or maybe I have, it's just too long ago, but you could have a day where all screens don't come on. And the screens that you typically have are mobile phones, tablets, gaming consoles, TV. Switch them all off. And put on the radio. Obviously not a busy radio channel, but put the radio on, listen to some music to be soothing. Or you, as I said, traditional way, bring out a piece of paper and get creative. It might sound very old-fashioned or outmodish, or go gardening or take a walk, and take in nature, listen to birds, just get them away from the screen. And again, if you are into discussing these things with your young ones, really engaging, they won't think you're outmodish. They know you're doing your best to help them on their learning journey. And then other days where you can break a leg and just binge on this thing, obviously with some limits. But binge on gaming. Oh, today's a gaming day, but you must be involved. Okay? You and I must be involved in their journeys. My boys are older now, so it may not be something that I can do, but I have godsons and I know a few daughters that I can impact, by getting involved. So as I'm giving you the advice, I'm also giving myself that same advice, okay? But it's important that we get involved, okay? So we must use our judgment. I'm still answering that question, quite a long answer, but I'm mixing it up, as you can see. But with any piece of technology, we must use our judgment to decide if we're happy for our children to use a gaming console. We want them to enjoy it. We want to keep them safe whilst they do so. And so whether they already have one or you're planning to give them a new gaming console, we must also explore parental controls. At times we don't have to actually babysit them whilst they do their playing and enjoying, what the gaming or the game itself is giving them. You don't have to babysit them and sit there all the while. Of course, if that's your thing, and we've still recommended that you engage, whatever it takes to make sure that your child is going, through this whole experience in a safe manner, then do that. But with parental controls, you can have a hands-off approach and still be assured of the safety, because your young one will be safe if you have locked down things that potentially could become a bother. When you lock down the system, you don't have people like I won't give them credit by mentioning their name, YouTube bombing my comments section. You lock it down, so you due diligence little by little, it all adds up, and then you can really let them loose. But I'm finding that you have parents who are just giving these gaming consoles to their young ones, and any device for that matter, and not doing anything as far as they're away from you, as far as they're not a nuisance to you, as far as they're not in your space. You're letting them go, and that's not right at all. As I said, if you have to have the hands-off approach because you're genuinely busy, then make sure you've locked down the gaming console. Make sure you've locked it down. By locking down, is not preventing them from gaming, but preventing those they possibly are gaming with online, or indeed the computer itself, or sorry, if it's a computer, or the console itself. Make sure it's patched. Make sure that it is, foolproof, and no bugs can come in there that will worry our young ones. And that's important. Absolutely important. Okay? Again, if you're just visiting the platform for the first time, I'll urge you to subscribe to the channel. We release content every week. And it ebbs and flows. At times, I'm so desperate to release the material, I release it on a Sunday, a day before, but typically it's Monday morning. So I'll urge you to look out, for content every week, mostly Monday, but it could be Sunday or even Saturday. Just depends on how rushed I feel the families on the platform need to engage consume the content, and I will release it. Okay, so I want you to subscribe. Make sure you're subscribing. And again, we still have, I believe, 10 minutes to go or less. Please, if you have a question, that's why I'm here. It's almost like all I do is just come, sit down, and wait for you to ask questions for an hour. Now, that is extremely boring. Extremely. So if we didn't have questions that came in via the website, this will be a staring contest. You staring at your monitor or your phone, and me staring at the lens. I don't want that. Okay? I don't want that. But I am here for an hour. If that's what it takes to get this information to you, then so be it. Okay? At some point I'll review it if that's the case. But today I'm happy just sitting down, looking pretty. Yeah, I can say looking pretty at the lens. I'm looking into the lens. You have a responsibility towards those young ones, and investing an hour each month, to ask questions. As I said, I'm not headmaster. I don't have all the answers, but whilst we engage, we can dialogue together. I can point you to where to get answers to your questions. I can have you send a comment, or an email, and then I'll address those concerns too. But you only stand to benefit. And so if you like the content, please like it, subscribe, share the content with your family and friends. I urge you to, okay? Good stuff. All right, so we are counting down. We have 8 minutes or less. I'm still waiting for any other question. There's none coming in. Interesting. Good stuff. Remember, you must patch those gaming consoles. Some of you are asking, what does patch mean? You have updates released to, lock down those systems. Basically, they're sending bug fixes. They see a bug that could introduce noise or filth to the gaming console, and so these vendors will produce or release patches that will prevent that from affecting the health of the console. And so it's not a suggestion, it's demanded that we must install those patches or updates. So if you have an update waiting, one way to find that out, if you go to, usually it's the about section of your console, or just do a research, find out what the latest release of firmware is for your gaming console, and that could be the PS4, the Xbox One, or even the Nintendo family of consoles. Just make sure that you are patching those consoles. With usage, the vendors know that bugs exist, and so they release patches or updates to clean up that system and make sure that it's still user-friendly, child-friendly, more importantly. And that's a good thing, good way to make sure you're doing your utmost as we've discussed already, to keep our young ones safe. Okay? Good stuff. Good stuff. The next live Q&A obviously will be at the end of October. And I've mentioned already that I would be inviting a guest or guests. Usually it will be about 2 maximum, but minimum obviously will be 1. Get a guest in who would give or share their experiences based on their journey with the family cyber clinic, or any testimonies on what they've been able to achieve through the education they're getting, and some of the shocking things that have happened prior to them getting to know of the clinic, clinic's existence, and we'll sort of mix it up. Spending an hour that way too is also useful, but we'll also obviously still have time for questions, and it would just be nice to ask a person to comment on some issues that I feel will be important. But keep those questions coming in, not now obviously. If you're still thinking about a question for the live show right now, that would be painful. You should have done that earlier, but questions can still be submitted for October's live show, and please use the link in the description. This will be post release. You'll find the URL for submitting questions in the description, and make sure you're doing that. Vital that you do. Okay, gives me an opportunity to know how to plan. And those questions, you see, we've been able to use the questions we received to have some sort of picture during this show, and it delights me. Oh, that's Valerie and Juanita. Thank you so much. I'll put it on so you don't think I'm making it up. You can see Valerie and Isaiah, and that's all the way in Singapore. What's the time? 12. Okay, it's a bit late there, but thank you for your support, my awesome family in Singapore. Thank you so much, they say, for all you do. We are blessed. Hallelujah. That's good. Really good. That's excited me no end. Hence the hallelujah. Good stuff. Okay. Any questions? I can't see any coming in. We talked about transparency. I think this is quite key. We must have an open door policy. And of course, if our relationship with our young one is healthy, or young ones are healthy, young ones. English, not my first language. Okay? If your relationship with your young one is healthy enough, have an open door policy. So that when they're shocked by something or things that they're not supposed to see, they come and tell you. Secrecy has no business in a family setting. Transparency does. Okay? And so it is a joy to have an open door policy with our young ones. Okay? So that we can be of use to them. All right? We have reached the end of our engagement today. For those of you who don't know what a live show is, it means you must come. Come and attend. Don't wait till it's released and then you watch it. I want you here. Okay? I want you here. I go through the pain of making sure that you are here. And so please come. All right? Please come. I enjoy doing this. I have a lot of love for the family unit, and I want us to be able to remain safe on the internet. I hope that you see that this passion is driven. It's not fake. It's something I love doing. And so I hope that next month when you receive the ping, you will make it a date with me. Okay? I am here for you. Absolutely here for you. I'll have it no other way. All right? I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem, Until next week, when we'll have our weekly, video releases. Be safe. God bless and goodbye.